different, but perfectly formed, Cambridge Publications. Bruce Smith's Cambridge Guide to the Worlds of Shakespeare, and the lovely collection edited by Clara Calvo and Capelia Khan, Celebrating Shakespeare, Commemoration and Cultural Memory. And some of you people have written for both books, which is doubly wonderful, and you're doubly welcome, and thank you for coming. So I want to say a quick word about how both of these projects came into being, and then to hand over to the real people who did the hard work, the editors of the volumes. First, can you hear? Is this okay? I'm shouting as loud as I can. Okay. If you need to move down or sit down, please feel free. You don't feel you've got to stand. Okay. The guide. Most of you will have by now learnt the sad truth that Bruce, the general editor and the original inspiration behind the guide, was advised last weekend that he couldn't travel, I'm afraid, to New Orleans. He has a leg thrombosis and his doctor said no flying for 3 weeks, and that was that. We are in touch, and he is, I think, not in pain right now. He's making a good recovery, but he can't be here. This is very frustrating for him. He was, as you may know, a student at Tulane many years ago in the 60s, and he would have loved to come. He only told me this when he had already provided, as it were, a splendid solution to this evening, which was to ask Kathy, his associate general editor, to host this party with us. And so I'm delighted that she is here too. And I will hand over to Kathy in a while. But actually, speaking very personally, I am very sad that I'm robbed of the chance, the only chance I will probably have, to say to Bruce's face and in front of all of you, what a complete joy it has been to work with him. And I think you will the 2-volume guide, which I rarely lift up when I do. It's a huge enterprise, even by the standards of a publishing house that regularly commissions, multi-volume Cambridge histories and editions of Ben Jonson, such like. It's an imaginative, comprehensive guide to all aspects of Shakespeare's world, and the world since Shakespeare. It's beautifully produced, illustrated. I'm very proud of it, and it's written by all of you. There are 28 sections, domains of knowledge, going on 2 million words, over 2,000 pages, and more than 300 illustrations. And what struck me when I saw the final volumes is that you can't describe the contents of these books as entries like you might in a general reference book. These aren't entries, these are carefully thought out essays. They're works of research. It's beautifully done, and I recommend it to you. I can do that because I actually can take very little credit for this myself. The project was first conceived many moons ago. Well, Kathy will say it was only conceived 6 years ago. I think it was somewhere like 8 or 10, something like that. But all reference books of this kind, they take years to come to fruition. And it was conceived by my then colleague in the New York office, Andy Beck, who then ran away. It was then taken over by my colleague Beatrice Rail, whom some of you will know, and who in fact did much more of the hard work than me, and deserves full credit. From time to time I popped up as for consultation as the press's regular Shakespeare editor. But I have to admit that at the outset of all this, those years ago, I didn't know Bruce, really. I knew him by reputation. I knew him maybe to shake hands here at the SAI. I didn't know him particularly well, just by reputation, as a very distinguished early modernist. And when I saw the outline of this encyclopedia proposal, I could see that he had this magnificent vision, but I did wonder whether one person could hold it all together, to see it through, to rally his authors, keep his team on track, and And then, what would he be like to work with? This is what you always wonder. You wonder how good are they, then you think, who would he like to work with? And I expect you know the phrase, not invented here. We all feel that. When you inherit a project that another colleague has devised, and it happens all the time to publishers, and we all think our own inventions are much better than anyone else's. But I was wrong. We met properly when Bruce got funding to hold a most delightful mini brainstorm, I think that's what it was, of all the interested parties, a small team, to devise what was then considered the online version of the guide. This was held at USC in January 2010. That was an occasion where I met Cathy Rowe, the Associate General Editor and, of course, now Provost of Smith College. Cathy had particular responsibility, in addition to her section of the guide and for the Associate General Editorship, for the digital aspect of all this, which was always conceived of as being an essential component of the whole package. And I must say, it was an easy decision going to LA in January from Cambridge. And it was blue sky thinking. And the answer to my original question came pretty quickly. Yes, Bruce could and would see this through, and he would stick to his vision of its shape and its coherence. He would get it done, whilst maintaining excellent relations with all his authors. Not only this, but he would proofread every word. But crucially, he also had amazing assistants, and he devised a wonderful team of people. Cathy as the managing editor, who, among other things, devised this extraordinary workflow for the guide, and a brilliant editorial board of section heads, and so a team was in place. Now, I must just pick up on my allusion to the online version of the guide. I'm aware that many of you will have heard of this ticking over the years, and Cathy and Bruce and I have been plotting and displaying bits of this at meetings in Prague and Stratford, seemingly for years, and Bruce and Cathy have been wonderfully patient. While the material for this was being written and edited, parallel work on the digital project went on, and Cathy had the vision to commission and to check the key wording, the hyperlinking of each one of these essays. And your work will not have been wasted. The meeting we had in LA left us with three possibilities, which we referred to as our gold, our silver, and our Iron Age solutions. We weren't content with the Iron Age. And last year, at the press, we decided that we must wait for a much enhanced digital version which could work on the press's new platform. And we devised a new platform. So, the 2 print volumes are now published as one set. While that's happening, there is a little team of digital persons back in Cambridge who are busy converting the content of the whole of this into a digital form, which will be an integrated product that will involve the new Cambridge Shakespeare edition of the complete plays and poems, and that will form the backbone of a splendid new integrated digital resource, Cambridge Shakespeare, which will be launched next spring. I now want to turn to our other project here. This I've come to know as the Clara and Coppelia book, which I always think sounds like a romantic opera. This is celebrating Shakespeare. It is a work of cultural memory. We're looking back from today's Jubilee to previous Shakespeare anniversaries from the 18th century onwards, in Britain and beyond, examining the phenomenon of Shakespeare memorials. Stanley Wells has reviewed it. Wide-ranging in both space and time, this richly illustrated volume offers a fascinating and often entertaining series of studies of the numerous different ways in which Shakespeare has been celebrated and commemorated over the centuries. This, the discerning among you will have noticed, there is no actual book here. The book has been in stock in Cambridge for 3 months. We have already sold half, at least, of the print run. It has not been published more than a week over here. We have no copies. The box that was couriered especially over here is somewhere in the Atlantic, as far as I know. And I'm very sorry about this, but the news is good in that we are selling this book very well. And I will very briefly, I don't want to take up too much of your time, just tell you the genesis of this book, which I find very nice. I made a lovely visit to Coppelia at Brown a few years ago. Again, a name to me, Coppelia Ballet, that's the thing I do, that's the thing I like. Who is this person? And we had a very happy meeting. We were chatting happily about the then far-off anniversaries of 2014 and 2016. And Coppelia revealed that she and Clara Calvo had been much involved in this conference held at King's College London in 2011, which had examined the 1916 Shakespeare anniversary. Clara I had known for many years before, from when she hosted me on a visit to Murcia with the European Shakespeare Society and devoted hours to making sure that we all had a wonderful time, fabulous food, lovely surroundings. And to this core of papers, the two editors added several more chapters drawn from a distinguished set of international contributors and included specific case studies, Indian, Irish, Australian, and very interesting aspects of what we now call cultural tourism, Shakespeare gardens, sculptures, cottages, cartoons. To my amazement and delight, the resulting book took place very quickly, took shape. We discussed it, I think, at the Paris conference in 2014, and it came out perfectly timed for the 2016 anniversary, even a month or two early. So that is good. But actually, I realized that my reflections on the genesis of these books, well, they make it seem as though I only ever publish people who live in nice places. But in fact, what I want to say is simply this, that no one should ever underestimate the enormous labor involved in commissioning and editing other people's prose. And actually to do so, and without those people whom you are editing secretly plotting your downfall, and actually remaining your friends, is teamwork of a most remarkable kind. And I thank you all for that. Thank you.
All right, so sweet. Okay. They met me in the day of success, and I've learned by perfect report that they have more than mortal knowledge in them. Wait, no, that's not the right letter. You can imagine me mostly bald, somebody for whom all of us feel so much affection, so much respect intellectually, Bruce Smith. Someone who builds intellectual community around him really naturally. And I think many of us, when he came to say, would you come do this project, would have said no to anybody but Bruce. Because the pleasure of working with him on something of this ambition and scope was so exciting. And really fulfilled, certainly in my experience. So it's an honor to be here and to be reading in his voice. Though Sarah, you need to come up because part of this will need to be in your voice. All right? And I'll signal when we're switching. As Bruce, dear friends, so now I know firsthand how the actor who's played Rosalind and Ganymede feels at the end of As You Like It. The production is done. I'm taking off my costume as general editor, and I'm not quite sure which voice I should be using. The general editor's voice or my own voice as a fellow of the company that has just pulled off the production. Fortunately, I'm spared that dilemma because the voice you're actually hearing is Kathy Rose. I'm not with you all in person to speak these words because of doctor's orders not to fly while a thrombosis in one of my legs is being dissolved. Okay, now I'm Kathy Rowe, and he's going to be fine. This is short term, so no worries. Back to Bruce. An epilogue is a prompt to look back and take stock of what the actors, all of them together, have accomplished. The we in this case are 285 contributors, 6 members of the editorial team, 2 editorial assistants, plus the scores of individuals named in the acknowledgments. What we've accomplished is prodigious. Together we've written and edited upwards of 2 million words, disposed into 140 chapters, making up 28 broad subject areas, gathered in the print edition into 2 folio volumes, amounting to more than 3,000 pages. Oh, and the 2 volumes of the print edition weigh in at more than 10 pounds, in case you were wondering. The online edition, to be launched early next year, will be a lighter affair, as the ether requires, but at the same time it will be much broader, since every quotation will be cross-linked with the text of the new Cambridge editions. And as Sarah said, that was one of the very first ideas we had as we began to imagine what the next generation of a very robust resource in Shakespeare studies could look like if it were going to be global. Having spoken the epilogue, or at least having written it, let me now play Simon Foreman and record what I have learned from it all. Most important are humility and gratitude. It's nice to see my name on the title page as general editor, but I'm keenly aware that the Cambridge Guide to the Worlds of Shakespeare is a group achievement, far beyond the abilities of any one individual. Among those present tonight, I want to single out 2 people in particular for being a stalwart supporter of the project from the very beginning, a wise counselor, and a consummate diplomat in dealing with multiple entities within Cambridge University Press. I want to thank Sarah Stanton.
You're here.
In my own voice now as Kathy Rowe, I want to just say what a pleasure it's been to work with Sarah. Formidable intellectually, one of the most exciting and important curators of scholarship in Shakespeare studies, I think. We all know how deeply important that curatorship is, and our work is better for it, so thank you for me as well. Okay, now,
Okay.
remember 2 people being thanked.
Kathy, get ready for your modesty topos. Mrs. Bruce, I am deeply grateful to Kathy Rowe, who took charge of the project at a crucial juncture when I was going through a long recovery from illness. It is not an overstatement to say that the project would never have been brought to completion, or at least would still be in process now, without her. Kathy's collaborator during this period was my husband, Gordon Davis, who would have been with me here tonight to meet many of the people he knows only through their bylines.
Okay, as Bruce. Among the members of the editorial board, 2 besides myself are present tonight. Ton Hanselaars of Utrecht University in the Netherlands, Andy Murphy of St Andrews University in the UK. Ton and Andy will tell you freely how much more work this whole thing was than what they imagined when they agreed to join the editorial board 6 years ago. Not here are Akiko Kusunoki of Tokyo Women's Christian University in Japan, and Aymara da Cunha Rezende, president of the Centro de Estudos Shakespearianos in Brazil. Every member of the editorial team took responsibility from 1 to 6 of 28 parts of the guide. A task that required vision, perseverance, social tact, patience, and hours upon hours of detailed editing. And as myself, I would add, you had to get comfortable with the Google environment that I created for us. So thank you to all of you. Multiply 5 sections of up to 14 contributors each, and you will see the size of the task. My thanks go out actually in 300 or so directions. All of you present here tonight have my deep and abiding thanks for your generosity in sharing your experience and for your patience during the 6 years it took to bring this project to completion. Believe me, there is nothing better I would like at this moment than to be here with all of you in person, not so much to make this speech, but to follow the example of Rosalind Ganymede, actor, and get the speech over with so I could go out and hug and kiss everybody present. Beard or no beard. If you're going to be at the World Shakespeare Congress in August, by all means, come to the launch party there. And let's raise a second toast. But now for the first one to the Cambridge Guide to the Worlds of Shakespeare and to Bruce Smith.
You're here.
Now, I'd like to invite Kalia to come and say a few words about our other non-existent but much loved product.
Yes, right. All right, come on. Yes, we have to have faith in things unseen. Though, as Clara reminds me, you can go on Google and page through it a bit. It does exist. It has existed since the end of November. And that in itself is a notable fact, that dating. This book, as Clara reminds me, was conceived on a park bench in Cambridge, Massachusetts in April of 2012. After the SAA in Boston, Clara and Ton Hunsler, where is Ton? Where are you? Where are you? Oh, okay. At the bar. Oh, at the bar. Clara and Ton were the speakers at a seminar that Bill Carroll and I co-chair at the Harvard Humanities Center. And somehow I had gotten it in my head that there could be a collection of essays about the field that had engrossed us, the three of us, for some years, and that it could be coordinated with 2016. I rarely think this far ahead. So there it was, a nice sunny spring day, and I sprang this idea on them, and they were both very receptive, though Ton had to withdraw later because of the responsibilities already mentioned in the present volume. So that's what happened. So Clara and I took this on. And I have to say that the biggest joy of all comes before the actual book, and that was collaborating with Clara. It was fun. We had fun. We think alike.
Now, very often I send emails to Copelia saying just, there's nothing really in this email, Copelia, it's just that I miss your email, so send me one.
Yeah, it was great. It was a marriage made in heaven, and I am in a position to evaluate these kinds of collaborations because this was the 6th collection that I co-edited. And I wouldn't have taken this on if it hadn't been for Clara, because after the last one I said, that's it, I'm done. But it really was a joy from beginning to end. And I want to make note of a part of it all that Clara handled that was so difficult and complicated that I was completely unequipped to do. And that was the index. And I looked at the directions that we got for the index, and my eyes glazed over, and I lost all capacity of thought, and I just, what to do with this? And Clara took it on, and she was so gracious and smart about it. We have 15 contributors from, I believe, how many continents? North America, Europe, India, Australia. So that's 5. Okay. And some of them are here, and I want to recognize them. Richard Shook. You count for 2 continents. North America. And then the UK. We'll call the UK a continent. Okay. And then Ton is over here. He's looking the other way. And Graham Holderness. Ton Hunsler is Graham Holderness. Doug Lanier back there. And Andy Murphy. There you are. Anybody I'm missing here? Catherine Shaw. Where? There you are. We actually haven't met. And I want to say that all of our contributors did original research, came up with new ways of understanding commemoration. They really advanced the whole field. And each essay as it arrived was really a fresh delight. Oh, there's another continent, Australia. Philip Mead did an essay from Australia. So it was, in addition to the wonderful harmony that Clara and I enjoyed, it was this wonderful surprise as one essay after another arrived, and we thought, whoa. So it was a joy and a delight, and my final thank you is, of course, to Sarah, who smoothed every path, who made all the parts of this job, she put them in sync, and she was unflapped by any, slight obstacles or glitches, and it was a joy to work with her.
Really, look, glitches and obstacles. Oh,
Very slight.
But we're also very thankful to all the production team at CUB that they were very, very wonderful and made it possible that a book that was written very fast in order to meet the 2016 deadline, it could be ready, and it is ready, although it's not here because of Sarah and the
absolutely.
team that were very helpful with the index too, and the illustrations. It's a book that has an enormous amount of illustrations, and that it was thanks to the people involved in producing the book that were very, very good at getting them all there.
Clara, as usual, is right. This book was conceived in April 2012 and delivered into our hands by the end of November 2015. So all the contributors and all the production team and Sarah and Clara and I, we just worked in sync. It was a delight. Thank you.
Thank you. Do please continue to enjoy yourself.
I did.
Thank you. That was fun.